Okay, good afternoon, everybody. And please welcome to Krishan Jagota for the next session at the Ahmedabad Design Week 2.0. Krishan studied industrial design at the National Institute of Design in India and is an illustrator who can draw with both hands. Wow, that is a feat. Equipped with his experience in Germany, Krishna is now contributing to a diverse range of design projects and Sideways Consulting Mumbai as the lead industrial designer and brand strategist. Krishan also conducts workshops at academic institutions globally. Let us welcome Krishan Jagota.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Anahita. And welcome everybody sitting from home, wherever you are. These are tough times, but it's so good to see that we are doing it online and crazy the amount of people that are able to see this. So today's session is going to be me presenting three things to you. One is a little bit about what we do at Sideways. After that, we'll talk about our partnership with Hamleys, which is Reliance Brands Limited in India, and subsequently show you a glimpse of a product that we are about to launch. That's a toy. So yes, I'm a fellow kid sharing the planet with you. I love magic, I love art, I love music. Nothing much has changed. You can see in my pictures there, 3 decades apart, pretty much the same thing. I'm trying to keep this child inside of me alive, and that's why I work at a place which is called Sideways. So today we're going to start with discussing what Sideways is, which is this agency that made me leave Munich and come to Bombay. It's a multidisciplinary problem-solving outfit that works for corporates, startups, as well as the social sector. It was started by big shots from the Indian advertising world who decided that, hey, advertising isn't satiating their creative hunger. And that's when Abhijit Awasthi and Sonali Sehgal started Sideways in 2015. In fact, the logo is a very interesting story, which is built using actual handwritings of people who were sideways thinkers, lateral thinkers who inspired what they wanted to do. So people often ask us, what have we done in the last 5 years? And that's when I tell them that it's very difficult for us to really put in words what we do just using language. So here's what we did. We made a video to explain that. Let's watch that video before I move forward.
Ladies, gentlemen, and everyone in between, we have a little confession. We need to come clean. We've just turned 5, and we've come real far. Yet the one thing we can't figure is who we are. We like to dream and let our minds roam. We even drag the moon down and put it on a dome. It'd seem that we're good at anything because that's what we do. If you fancy, we'll even throw in a celebrity or two. It's a lot like love, you can feel it in the air. Always gets us excited, like a kid at a fair. We like to reimagine the world and then some. The shape of tomorrow, of the things to come. With a little curiosity and a belly full of fire, nothing ever seems hard, not even an astronaut for hire. And we do it any way you want, fried, grilled or barbecued. And no matter what they say, it sure is fun to play with your food. Our favorite thing to do is ask why not. So we took the humble little dice and added a twist to the plots. We like to look at the world with our heads a bit askew. That's how you get a dog to more than just bark and chew. Better than we find them is how we like to leave things, even if they happen to be rivers, lakes or springs. Now here's a little something all fine and dandy, and something that'll make us all proud, including Mr. Gandhi. There's never a dull day when we do what we do, but it sure feels special to help out our gods a bit too. But we don't quite fit in a box, a genre or a type, hence we don't know what to call us, perhaps our only little gripe. We did try a few things, but nothing quite makes the cut. Maybe we're just sideways and nothing but.
So coming back, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. It does show a breadth of work that we've been up to the last 5 years. And today's focus is going to be on one such work. While the process stays the same, we go around blue sky thinking, we go around doing all our research ourselves, which means in our team there are technologists, engineers, behavioral architects, design researchers, strategists who go out there, do the research, and we find potent connections before we come out with any solutions. So today I'm going to share in the first part of this presentation some insights that we picked up while we were doing a project on researching toys and games in India and understanding fun in play. You know, we went around households, we went in different parks, we met parents, we met these kids, and you could see a bunch of those right on your screen there. And it was so interesting to see how different the world is out there versus what you could imagine. This is a complex looking systems diagram of a fun scenario, rather a play scenario in India, where entities like storytelling exist together with technology, or a grandmother is connected to culture, and as a result impacting toys and games in India. So what looks super complex out here can be understood if you look at the key users of our system. So when we talk toys and games in India, we have to take care of the child and the mother, because the mother is the first stakeholder who's that close to the child. She's the nurturer. And this research was with 4 to 8-year-old kids, and that's why it was much more important to understand the lens of both the mother and the child. So there are common elements like the father, like academics, of course the TV, because the mother shares the same TV screen, and retail spaces where kids and mothers go out shopping, Hamleys being one big one of them. If you just look at the kids though, kids are always thinking content. They're thinking, how do I go out there and play with my friends in outdoor spaces? They're really, experts in technology, and this mobile phone is a huge distraction for them, but also a big motivation. With the mother though, there are other elements that impact how the system works for her in play. Health becomes a huge thing, where the mother is always bothered about what the child eats. Mother's friends, mother's own qualifications, and the entire family around also impacts the system. So if you have to look at designing a toy or a game in India, you need to understand all of this together, where there are overlapping elements like the father who's connected to both, like the TV, like education, and the retail space. So we said if we have to understand this, we need to know, are we doing a morning toy? Are we doing a night toy? Are we doing a toy when the father comes home? Or are we doing a toy that's played with the siblings in the afternoon? So we had to look at the day in the life of a mother and a child. And as a result, we went out there putting out various insights, which I'm not going to go in details of today, but just run you through for you guys, most of your students out there, to understand and appreciate the process that goes in a real world research scenario. So we looked at pointers like kids being aggressive and the mothers complaining about it, while it is actually the need to expend energy at a certain age, versus in Mumbai and in other cities where safety is a concern to send out your children. So we also started realizing that a lot of parents, especially grandparents, take the onus upon themselves to teach values to the kids. And that's why you have games like these existing at homes. It was very interesting to see a Jain puzzle book, which tells you how to go to the Pathshala and what should you avoid as a child to reach the Pathshala. Learning-based games do well, yes, but do they all work? Here's a question. So this was during our research where this 5-year-old kid was sitting and the game said 4+. And so we gave the game to this 5-year-old kid. And the question is, name Japan's largest island. And he just looks at it and he says, oh, that's a yellow dragon, because that's what kids are seeing in the games that you design. So if you're a toy designer, a game designer, you need to be really careful about the difference in a 5-year-old versus an 8-year-old, because that can make all the difference. But sometimes a lot of companies don't do justice to it, and they just end up selling a product that is not used. What are the emotions that come in when we talk toys? Of course, there's a lot of excitement, there's joy, there's a doll that a girl can play with for hours without even doing anything. She can put the doll to sleep and say, Barbie is sleeping right now, and not disturb her. Versus there's a lot of disappointment and dejection when there's a competitive gameplay out there. So what's going on? How do you design a toy for good emotions? How do you design a toy that enables that fun out there? That's what we set out to understand. And we started realizing a lot of need gaps, that what the mother thinks is aggression is actually the need to release energy. What the mother thinks is, oh, he's too restless, he keeps asking me so many questions, is the need to address curiosity. And a lot of times there are mothers who have a certain strata of society that thinks if English is taught through toys, that would be great. And that becomes an interesting insight out there. But when you go to kids, they all say maza aa gaya. When you ask them, how did you like this toy? They said maza aa gaya, and I had a lot of fun. So what does this maza mean? What does this fun mean? And where does it come from? So we went around and we met over 200 kids and we see them play in groups. We see them play solo. We see them play outdoors, indoors. We did workshops with them and we realized that actually fun could come from anywhere. For a child, it could come from any of these, what you see on your screen. It could come from my favorite chachaji, which we call people, or my best friend, or my twin sister. It could come from objects, objects, not just toys, not just games, but also just a simple piece of cardboard can be fun for children. Or it could come from spaces, which means my school garden, or it could be my tennis court under my building, or it could even be the stairs outside. And for indoor spaces, children have their favorite walls or favorite beds as well, where they like to keep everything that they play with. There are definitely activities which we call play patterns in the toy industry that create a lot of fun for children. And of course, the fifth one that we could not decipher, that we left to the child's intelligence, what we call random, because there are certain things that kids can just enjoy that we can't make out as adults. In fact, on the top left image that you see there, a bunch of kids went around in circles distributing toys to each other, where this 9-year-old girl was giving toys to the remaining 4 kids and they never played with it. And when we see that 45-minute video again and again, it goes back. And somewhere it feels like how you meet your friends in a coffee shop on a weekend and there's not much to talk about, but you're just chilling. Probably they've just met humans their height and they're enjoying that, but that's so random, right? On the top right, you see kids playing with a cardboard that becomes a train and later becomes a cave and can also become a cape for a Superman. You also see on the bottom right a kid who's about to destroy what he just created. So this idea of attachment versus detachment for kids is very interesting. On the bottom left, you see a lot of educational games that aren't really being played the way they should be. So what's the ideal scenario? So we say the ideal scenario is when my favorite person comes to my favorite place and plays with my favorite toy as a child, and we do our favorite activities. That would be ideal fun for me. However, that doesn't exist all the time. A child's father may not be home, but the toy demands father to be there to play with him. Chess, for example, or other board games, for example, could require people to be there, and so on and so forth. So how does this fun behave in this entire scenario? We realize that actually fun comes in peaks. So all the other emotions come in much later. So I feel I'm playing cricket and then I hit a 6 and then wow, as a child I feel this fun. But for the next maybe 4 or 5 minutes, I'm not that high in fun, but I'm still enjoying the game. And maybe there are lows, but that's how a game is built. So a game is built of many fun peaks. And the more the fun peaks in a game or a game experience, the better sustained it would be for a child, which means classics like Ludo and Snakes and Ladders have solved something right, that every few minutes you're going to feel a high. That's what we call a fun peak for a child. And it could be coming through humor. It could come through just the malleability of a game. It could come from bonding of two people who are playing the game. It could also come from just great packaging. Versus factors that could cause drop-offs in this could be rivalry or extreme competition or tough levels of the gameplay, so on and so forth. So we understood that if we have to make a toy that really works well, we need to go out there and understand how people are also buying the toys. So we went to a retail shop and we actually went to multiple retail shops and we gave these kids money and we sent their mothers and fathers along and we said, let the child buy what the child wants to buy. And we would see the mother trying to sell to the child a bigger bat, because while the child is only 3.5 feet tall, eventually he's going to become 4 feet and the mother wants him to buy a bigger bat that will be of value later, but the child can't even play with it. And you see how a mother says, why don't you buy this jigsaw, versus the girl just entering the store and says, Barbie hi lungi, because that's the fascination with the Barbie doll. And you also see how retailers know this behavior of the mother as well as the child. So they try to balance it. So on one side, they say to the child, oh, it will be a lot of fun. But to the mother, they are telling how it's of value. So we realize that adults are shopping with their left brain. Parents go out there thinking value, 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 learning, learning, learning. But children are just running around. It's a play area for them. When they enter a Hamleys, it's a dream come true. They go around exploring everything and they can just pick up even a little monkey and be very happy with it. Versus a mother might want to buy a huge learning game for them. So a question to all of you, while I won't really get the answers through this platform, but you could answer it mentally. Did you ever own a Rubik's Cube, or did you ever play with a Rubik's Cube? Most of the times when we ask this question, 99% people have either played with it or have had a Rubik's Cube. However, most of them have never solved it. So ask yourself, have you actually ever solved the Rubik's Cube? So what is it that the Rubik's Cube has done to the market that everybody wants it? Maybe for the mother, it's the left brain answer, which says, I hope that my child will be a genius one day. Child, it's just a colorful ball that he could twist around and say, oh, that's L for Lakshay. And that's why it hits the sweet spot, and it's there in every household. So is this other game called chess. Do you play chess? Okay, you might not be an expert, but you know how to play chess. Or rather, did you have chess at home when you were a kid? Did your parents know how to play chess? Here's how we saw a child play chess. So here's where the child said, oh, Raja jo hai, wo ghode par baith gaya hai. In English, the king is sitting on the horse, and now the king is going for shikar, to prey. And when I ask him why, he says, because that's only what makes sense. The soldiers do not look like the soldiers. The queen doesn't have long hair. The elephant looks nothing like the elephant. So in traditional meaning, while chess is a very powerful game built in India, maybe it's time to relook at intuitive design of a chess pawn. So what again is there in every household is because the mother thinks it's going to develop my child's left brain and strategy, but for the child, it's just a storytelling tool or a nice looking pattern. So yes, games that talk to kids as well as parents are going to sell well. That's the idea for this, this point that I'm making. If you look at the difference between both the parents, right, in this context, the mother is always there primarily in the Indian scheme of things, while the father is scarcely available. He's got work to do. He comes in the evening versus the mother is the nurturer. She spends more time with the kids. And we saw this very funny thing that the mother is going to buy things, like I said, of what are value to the child's education, of English, math, geography, whatever. But the father is going to buy things out of guilt. So the father doesn't have time, so he stops by at the airport and picks up something and comes home. Also, interestingly, even if the child is a daughter, the father almost ends up buying things that he himself can play with. So the father's inner child is always active like that. So we've seen enough cases where fathers buy cars for their young girls. So these are point of views just to show you how we built insights, how we built mechanisms, and how we built an entire pool of insights and points of views for us to build new toys and games of the future. And what's happened with these is that we have taken these and we have put them into design principles. Of course, a game should be fun. A game needs to have sustained engagement. A game needs to have a very seamless experience, which means when I take the packaging, and if I'm opening it as a child, and if that is not fun and seamless, how you see an Apple packaging, it won't be fun to play. It might already bore me down. The game needs to really have a short learning curve. If you're going to take time in explaining me your rules, I'm not interested as a child. And that's why children make their own rules, because multiple times the games come with super crazy rules that unless you're a 15-year-old child, you probably not even opened the box. Familiarity helps in designing any game, and that's why you see reinventions of games that constantly happen, of classics. In fact, the innovative toy that we are going to show you today is an attempt to change a 3,000-year-old product, which has been very familiar to all of you. A gender agnostic toy is what we want to do. We don't want to create divides between boys and girls as ethically as we can. Interactivity is a big one, because if the toy is not interactive, it's going to only have a life of perhaps a few minutes, not even more. The better gamified your product experience, the better sustenance it would have, because a too difficult game can be very intimidating versus a too easy game can be super boring. So a game that's leveled nicely is well gamified and helps our cause. And finally, there has to be an element of discovery. There has to be an element where I can take the game as a child, I can take the toy as a child, and I can discover elements of it and build my own play patterns around it. So once you have all of these together, and these are good to have notes for as kids, as students right now of design, you guys are in Karnavati, in UID, in NID, all around India. These are interesting pointers, not just within a product, which is a toy or a game, rather any service design also in the same category. In fact, even any product that you design, do keep a note of what design principles is that product going to follow, because that becomes very, very important as a bouncing board later when you were on testing the product. And that's when you have to see if it is meeting all of these requirements. So understanding this play system, Reliance Brands Limited and Sideways, which is the agency I work with, have set up a joint venture. And the idea for us is to really innovate the toy ecosystem. So we are going to do it from India to the world. And RBL, Reliance Brands Limited, has also acquired Hamleys globally now, which makes them the biggest player, which makes us the biggest hopeful design agency right now in making change to what the world plays with. And this is the ecosystem that we are working on towards in India right now, where the retail can be managed by Reliance and Hamleys. For design, we become their design partners. We come up with crazy new ideas of toys. We constantly go to retail, and we are building a huge database of manufacturers, partnerships with manufacturers. Earlier used to be a lot in China, and now is really, really moving towards India. And that's going to see a big shift in the future with the governments making the duties on import from China really up to 60% in the toy and game industry. So everything's going to be made in India very soon. And it did, because the pandemic, make things very, very obvious that people had to move to India. And we kind of survived that time, and you will see how in bringing this product out there for you all. So the first innovation, moving to that, it'll be officially launched at the India Toy Fair 2021. It's an attempt at, like I said, redesigning a classic product in the game space. This is the classic product that I was referring to. Yes, it's a dice that has not changed for over 5,000 years. I mean, the classical form, the cube, has sustained itself for over 5,000 years for a reason, because it's minimal. It looks personal. The way each person that has ever played with the dice rolls it is a very intimate experience. It's very dexterous, and it's based on this element of chance, which is something as human beings we have ingrained in us to enjoy. So we asked ourselves, how has it not changed for so many years? What is this beauty in this dice, and how in this era where a mobile phone changes 5, you have the iPhone 1 to 12 happening so quickly, and you have every new product becoming redundant immediately after its launch. How are classics like these staying so long? And when we realize that, it is actually a game, device which lends itself to over 11,000 games globally and 22,000 different play patterns. And India is the land of ancient board games, starting from Shakuni Mama throwing those dice to Mahabharat to Chopal, and there are companies like Hail Kholo which are doing enough research on this. So we took upon ourselves the onus to reinvent the classic dice, and here's what we did to it. We call it the Diicii. Diicii is a simple cube again, but this time it's electronic in nature. No, it's not that complex electronic as you might think. It's not going to do those coding or jumping or flying, because that makes it very, very expensive. Those kind of dices have been tried by people. They are sold at 6,000 rupees a piece. Nobody wants to buy them. So keeping all our research that we did in the toy industry, we have attempted to create a dice which comes with an extra play pattern that is as simple as the play pattern already coded in a regular dice. A regular dice has a play pattern of just chance of numbers 1 to 6, but in Diicii, there's an extra layer of a color. Yes, a color. When you roll the Diicii lights up. It doesn't light up immediately. It takes a fraction of a second to light up. So imagine I roll and I get a 5, and it lights up either as red or green. It's not in my hands. It's again another extra element of fate. This red and green is coded in a chip inside, and it's going to be completely random, which means that not only am I getting 1 to 6, in fact, I'm getting 1 to 6 in red and 1 to 6 in green. What does this mean? This means that I'm adding another layer of complexity on the already existing chance. The randomized illumination is going to lead me to create multiple play patterns. Imagine if green would mean go forward and red would mean go backwards. In any board game, let's say Snakes and Ladders, if you roll the Diicii and if you're at 35 and you get a 5, but the color of the dice is red, you got to move back 5 steps. So from 35, you go back to 30. Versus if you're green, you go ahead. So a simple change by bringing in a light has added double the motion in snakes and ladders. You could be on 32 and you could be wanting a red too because probably on 30 there is a ladder. So in fact, it makes it the world's first cheat-proof dice because I could be at 98 and wanting a 2. I might put the 2 like that, but I could get a red 2 and bring me to 96, which could have a snake that brings me all the way back to 7. Now, this is just snakes and ladders. Take it forward and create different games or marry to a Ludo, where a red could mean moving ahead, but a green could mean moving ahead at twice the speed. Or how about we change the variables and the attributes with the variables? So what if I say I'm team 1 and I'm red team and you are team 2 and you're green team, which means that if I roll the dice and I get a green color, you get to move. And if you get, you roll the dice, even if you get a red color, I get to move. So it's based on the color and not so much about who rolls it. As a result, it is the idea of exchanged destinies coming in the equation. Think of storytelling, think of forward, backward, think of left, right, east, west. Think of two kids not wanting to drink milk and the mother rolling the dice. If you get red, Rahul has to drink milk. If you get green, Anushka has to drink the milk. And the number of the dice shows you how many sips you need to drink. So things like these, clockwise, anti-clockwise, good, bad, win, lose are only some of the various potential play patterns possible just by adding one more layer, which is a vector over the scalar 1 to 6. So like I said, the vector behavior gives you forward, backward, east, west, stop, go, pull, push. Assigning meanings lends itself to a lot of storytelling. You know, those games where we play truth and dare. You could say red means truth and green means dare, and you pull out as many cards. You can make your own games. You can teach them mathematics. You can roll 2 dice, and a green means plus and a red means minus. And if I get, let's say, rolling them and I'm playing the addition game, if I roll the 2 dice and I get 3 green and 4 red, I'll have to say -1, so on and so forth. So assigning to players attack versus defense can be used as a beautiful toss. You could replace the typical coin and play with the Diicii. It's the idea of personalization coming in. And so we took this dice and we went to a lot of kids in the age group 8 and above, and we co-created multiple games with them. And kids being kids, they created their own games. In fact, some of them were super smart. And this is this feedback. And together with the Hamleys, we are launching dice in isolation, called the Diicii in isolation as Diicii. But at the same time, we're also launching 5 games with this. We're launching novel games like Greedy Monkey, right here. All the games with me. We are launching novel games like Greedy Monkey, which exist on a new play pattern, which create a new play pattern of greed, which also teaches a value system of greed, how much greedy should one be, to an Astro Hunt, which marries an age-old classic of memory, where you need to find aliens. We also have reinvented classics like Brain Vita, Snakes and Ladders, and Ludo with 5x the fun because we've created new play patterns in it. And we've created a new card game called Knockout. So all these 5 have been launched now almost. And by the end of this month, will be out there in the market. So like I said, here are some visuals of how the dice incorporates itself to addition, to subtraction, to mathematical games, to removing and adding elements in a Brain Vita, to memory-based games, and to creating new play patterns, novelty. The concept was proposed and presented at Nuremberg Toy Fair last year, and it received great response in Germany just before the pandemic. And post-pandemic, things kind of slowed down because we were moving vendors and moving countries manufacturing, and then everything was happening online. So in fact, we did a great games launch digitally with the Hamleys internal teams around the world. That received a great response. And now we are going to pitch this product as the key product at India Toy Fair in end of February. So thank you so much for giving me this time. And I would just say, Anahita, welcome back. You can come back and we can now move to the questions. I hope you enjoyed the session. And if you need to contact us, you can take a screenshot of this, or you can just write to me, find me on Instagram or email. Thank you so much. Anahita, all yours.
Okay, thanks, Krishan. That's been very enlightening. So we have a couple of questions. So somebody asked, how do toy makers connect the gap between reaching the parents' requirement or expectations and the child's entertainment?
Beautiful. So I think one thing that all designers need to know is empathy, which is very important, right? Empathy, and what empathy means is taking your shoes off before you enter another person's shoes. A lot of designers do get into other person's shoes, but do not forget their own shoes that they needed to remove. So at times when you really want to design something for a child, you have to be that child yourself. So we encourage activities where you bring in the parents together, open the parents, you make them understand what the child also wants, and at the same time be aware of their left pain. In fact, in my presentation, I think partially I did answer that question. You need to find that sweet spot through your packaging, through your design, through your form, where you do talk about learning and value and everything to the mother, but inherently you code fun for the child to play with.
Thank you so much, Krishan. The next question, well, it says India is a country with multiple religions. So does religion play a role in toy design in India?
As a brand, we never do that. We do not suggest, it's unethical, I would say, to create any sort of religious divide. Yes, some toys do come from cultural roots, and that's why communities from those cultures do push those toys and games within those spaces. But I would not recommend taking the religious route in designing anything ever for a brand.
Okay, well, it seems like you're getting popular. There are more questions coming in. So, what would you say about toys to enhance motor skills of children?
I would say they are good toys.
What's the market for that, or the opportunities in that sector?
Oh, the opportunities are huge. In fact, in India, people are becoming more and more aware that play is not just a, a time pass, but actually it's a moment where a lot of the child's soft skills as well as physical skills and motor skills are built. And there are companies dedicated towards these coming out and like crazy. So definitely, if you're somebody who's interested in that, you need to pursue that more seriously, because in the next couple of coming years, who knows, you might be funded.
Interesting. And then somebody asked, how does Indian market, what is the place of the Indian toys in a global market?
So now, see, with the world connected and the world really looking around the world for more inspiration, I think it's the time for India to like grow for Indian toys, not just the ancient Indian toys rather, but also we are a country of IT, we're a country of technology, we're a country of engineers that we export. So there's enough intelligence in us, enough understanding of games and toys in us that the entire world can learn from. In fact, I would say inherently toys and games around the world work on the same principles. So the Indian storytelling on top would just help. And what we just need to work on is for our own innovation is to come together as a cluster that makes it conducive for us to innovate.
All right. And one of my fashion students wants to know that what is the possibility of upcycling fashion waste or leather waste into making toys?
Oh, that also is great. In fact, Europe saw that moment about 10 years ago where everything was around either slow fashion or it was around refurbishing things and making them re-functionally useful. And toys definitely become a good space for that. However, there's one catch there. If you really want to scale up in that industry, you need to know that there are a lot of these stringent laws. In fact, much more strict tests that need to be done because a toy is being played by a child, and that becomes very sensitive a situation where what happens if I swallow something as a child, and what happens if the material is expired beyond a particular thing and the chemicals can hurt me. Even a little battery used in a product can be very harmful. So in fact, we realized while we were working with the manufacturers closely is that we need to get even more stringent checks done versus pharmaceutical industry would require. So that could be the only catch. That said, if you're looking at a slightly higher age group, let's say 10 and above and 12 and above, then definitely you could refurbish fashion and appropriate it for toys and games.
Thank you. I think that's been very helpful, and I'm sure that the fashion students or any design students who have a bent towards sustainability can definitely look at that.
Oh, definitely. Sustainability as a whole is also something we are looking at. So if people are interested, they should get in touch because we are looking at ideas that we can work together on. And the entire world is thinking about it, in fact, not just sustainability in the toy itself, but also the packaging of it. So if any of you have ideas within sustainability, please do get in touch.
Sure, we will. Thank you for all of that. And a little birdie tells me that you have some magic tricks up your sleeve. So I would request you if you can show us something.
Okay, I wouldn't take much time of your audience here. Maybe I'll show a quick trick and we can take 1 or 2 questions because we have a few minutes left. So let me just show you one small trick. This is a trick also, by the way, as toy and game design students, you would be interested in, where you just take a piece of red cloth. Why you choose red is so that it really stands out and you just blow into it and it can vanish. And as you see it vanishing and you click again, it can come back. Now this is what brings me to this very interesting quote I believe in, which actually holds true for games and toys as well, which is all of magic. All of magic is design. Somebody designed it, right? That experience and that product. And all of design is magic. So all of you designers out there, you are real magicians. You have the power to bring a smile to a billion kids out there, mothers out there, and rather whatever products and services you end up designing there to make your consumers happy.
I'm sure we're all in awe of that little trick you just showed us, and it's definitely brought a smile to each one of us. So thank you. We'll probably have to get you on campus soon to do some magic tricks for us.
Yeah,
So,
as long as you guys can keep secrets, I'm happy to. We're happy
that'll
to
be
do
nice.
workshop as the joint venture of Reliance and Sideways. Also, we are open to looking at uh, doing things with universities and students, especially with their fresh mindsets, and see what happens. And definitely, we would have a separate magic evening or magic morning.
Definitely. That would be lovely. So, summing up, Krishan, thank you so much for bringing out the kid in each one of us and enlightening us about the possible pathways to make our passion into our profession. Your presentation was a perfect blend of serious and educational matters conveyed in a very fun filled, exciting manner through visuals, animation, and fantasy. Your insights on the emotions and child psychology behind toys, designing toys for good emotions, and the role of parents, especially mothers, as the target audience for toys is very helpful. So thank you again for making the time for the Ahmedabad Design Week 2.0, and we look forward to seeing you on campus soon.
Thank you so much, guys. Don't forget to go on Instagram and check out Sideways Consulting because the agency is really doing a lot of creative stuff, and you all will find something that you can collaborate on. And do check out Hamleys as well, and stay in touch. Get in touch for anything that you want. Bye.
Sure.
Thanks a lot,
Thank
Amanda.
you.
Thanks a lot to Ahmedabad Design Week team. It was a pleasure.
Okay. Thank you so much, Krishan.
Goodbye.